All right, so here you go, guys. This is the PSA Classic M4 16-inch upper receiver, and I have completely disassembled it as far as I need to completely disassemble it in order to show you this stuff. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about. First and foremost, I'm going to say all things being equal, right? You guys heard me say that many times before. If everything is the same, then what makes the difference? What makes one better than the other? All right, so let me get started. I'll start with a barrel. So this is a 16-inch 4150 chrome moly vanadium steel barrel, right? It is a 1-in-7 twist 5.56 NATO chambered barrel. Now I went ahead and put some marks on here so you could see it. The gas port, to my surprise, text specification for M4 carbine TDP textbook gas port size for a 14.5-inch is 0.0625, right? There's a lot of companies that make 16-inch barrels, and they can be anywhere from 0.063 to 0.078. This is a PSA barrel, and I actually called them. I kind of knew, but I wanted to call and double check. And I spoke to a service rep, but I asked him a couple pointed questions, and I told him, I said, I'm doing a video and I want to show people what quality stuff that you guys are actually doing. Now, I understand between you and I, those that are watching, I didn't say this to him, that manufacturers make mistakes at times. There's things that happen, shit happens, right? So the way that they handle it is going to be a reflection on them as a company. I asked him, who makes their barrels? And he said, depending on the barrel, because we use FN barrels, they're in South Carolina, or it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, and they make barrels for them to put in their rifles, and they're marked FN. Now, I dig into him a little bit deeper. I'm like, okay, so if FN makes the majority of the barrels that are marked, who makes the barrels for you guys specifically? There's a company called DC Steel, Delta Charlie Steel, in South Carolina that makes the barrels for them. And I'll tell you what, I have not shot this. This is a brand new, it came as a complete upper. And here's the specifications on it. This gas port is a 0.069. So textbook is 0.0625 via Colt. But the other thing that I found very interesting is, and as you can see, I have pin gauges and other things as well. We'll talk about the shoulder where the front sight post mounts up. And as you can see, this is a front sight post barrel because it's already been drilled. This is 0.749 in diameter. Cool thing about this is this dimension here, the 0.749, is the exact same size as the dimension in the front sight block. As you can see right here, I've got a 0.749 pin gauge in it, and I'm going to push it in. There you go. You see, goes right through. It's 0.749. So this is 0.749. So you know this is going to be a tight fit, which is good. Tight fits are good, right? So the other thing too, the barrel extension, and I'm going to try not to run over myself with this information. The barrel extension that goes into the upper receiver when you put it together is 0.998. Okay? Textbook for the M4 SOCOM barrel is 0.998, and I believe it can be less than or negative 0.003, so 3,000 smaller. So, but you don't want it to be smaller. You want it to be as tight a fit as you can possibly get. So remember that, 0.998. But talking about the barrel again, and I removed the barrel nut and the delta ring out of the way so I could do this for you. So check the chamber. I bore scoped it, and here's a barrel straightness gauge right here. And I'm going to put it in the barrel and check if barrel for straightness. And it dropped right through. That's good. That's a good sign. If it did not drop through, that's a problem. So the other thing is headspace. You want to be concerned about headspace when you're buying AR rifles, uppers, lowers, everything. You want to check, make sure the headspace on the barrel is good. So in order to do this properly, you need to disassemble your bolt. You can do it when it's together. These actually have holes in the back of them that will allow for the firing pin if you do it when the rifle's together. You really should take it apart though. So what you're checking for is the headspace where the bolt is going into the barrel extension, and when it locks up, so it literally goes in like this, then it turns, locks, fires, unlocks. So we're going to check it with the go gauge. Drop it down in, take the bolt, stick it in there, and it should turn. If it turns, that means you're good to go. If it's kind of tight, might be because it's a brand new gun or the barrel in the chamber is dirty. Well, this is a brand new barrel, never been, well, it may have been test fired, maybe 1 or 2 rounds, but not enough to gum it up in or anything like that. So as you can see, the go gauge goes in, drop it in, put the bolt in there, and turn it, and it's good, right? So let's double check the no-go gauge. So this should not close on the no-go gauge. Green's good, red's bad. So no-go gauge, and put the bolt in there, and it will not. I could try, but it's not going in there. So that's good. We want it to be that way. Here's a 0.179, a 0.180. So, okay, 0.180 does go in, right? And I annotated this because I had this out. So set that down, set the gas tube down, put this away so I don't lose it, because I hate running around and trying to, excuse me, holy shit. So it's a 0.180. And the gas tube, and I grabbed my bigger caliper so you can see this, zeroed out. Okay, where it's actually supposed to be at. It's 0.180. So that's good. That means you can see that as well. 0.187, yeah, right. And it's not that big. So what this means, and what this tells me as a armor gunsmith, is that the gas system on this barrel with this front sight and with this gas tube are going to be very efficient. There is minimal gaps between any of the componentry in the gas system, right? So that's good. I'll stick it down in there and you can see it goes in. It takes a little bit of effort to go in, but yeah, it goes in, which is good. So set this over here. So the bolt carrier group it's not phosphate coated. I believe it's nitride, which I really don't have an opinion about nitride. It's slick, I know that. The machining on it is really, really, really nice. Really nice machining. It's got grade 8 fasteners in it. There's a couple of different variations. The staking's not too bad. It could be a little bit better, but for what it is, I mean, you could change that if you wanted to. And I'm not sure, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask them when I was talking to the customer service rep yesterday, is when they're assembling the bolts, do they use gasket material underneath there? Well, if there's ever an issue with this gun, that's going to be one of the first things I'm going to check. But I can't see as of right now that there's going to be an issue. Everything is in really nice machining. The extractor, sharp, very, very, very sharp. That's good. So that means it's going to grab hold of the firing pin. It's in great shape. And as you can see right here, got a nice little ball on the end. It's supposed to be. I checked the spring on the ejector. and it's okay. It's not a spring coat, but you know, I think if PSA is watching this, and I'm sure they might be due to the conversation that I had with Jay, we'll call him, maybe they may upgrade to sprinkle springs and everything. So yeah, the ejector looks really good. It's got a little bit of a bevel on the edge, and you cannot see that, I'm sure. But I mean, even with glasses on, it's kind of hard for me to see, but I can tell that it's there. So that's good. Spring's a little, it works, right? I would say upgrade it, put a sprinkle spring in it, but that's just me. So let me see. What are we going to check? Let's check. I feel like Chad at the School of the American Rifle here. So let's check and make sure this is free to spin around. And as you can see, it's free to spin around. Now they have the insert and the O-ring on here. And if you're using Springco 5 coils, you don't need to use both. You can just use one. The insert is sufficient that Springco makes. But yeah, I mean, it was relatively tight to get out. And this looks like, and this might be the one issue I might have with it, it looks like it's nitrate coated as well. I would rather that not be nitrated. I'd rather that be phosphate, because I believe the nitrite is very slippery and could potentially have slipping issues on the round itself. So I talked about the ejector, the extractor, the fit on that, the spring, firing pin, bolt key. Why can I not remember what the hell this is called? And I wrote it because I marked it so I know which way it's going in every single time. And the retaining pin looks good. And it was pretty easy to get in and out. Well, that's good. It's holding pretty well. So I don't necessarily like to use firing pins to take things apart. So we're going to check the gas efficiency. You got the main chamber, you got the gas ring chamber, and you got the tail chamber. So main chamber is, let's get our TDP notes out here. I should know this off the top of my head, but I've got so many things going through my head all the time. If the voices in my head would quit talking, I wouldn't know what to do. And I'm trying not to make this video an hour long, trying to make it as short as possible. But I want to make sure I get all this information to you as you're seeing it happen. And all the guns I have sheets on them, as you can see. Here's my sheets that I created. Here's an actual. This is the spec sheet that I did on that Colt. So I'm just going to use the dimensions, not the written dimensions that I wrote on here, but I'm going to use the specs so you can see right here. So the overall length of the carrier should be 6.672. So don't measure it out. Turn it on. And you can see right here. .664. So TDP is 6.672. It can be less than 5 thousandths. So 72, 71, 7, 69, 68, 67. 67, 66, 65, 64, 63, 62. So it's within spec. It's 6.664. Little shorter than I would like to see. Measure the bolt. Overall length 2.797. And you're seeing this right here. 2.797 right there. Or was. Quit moving, Jeff. .791. So let's try that one more time. You're seeing this on camera as I'm doing it. And .798, so it's a hair long. That really won't make a difference. And let's check the shoulder on this bad boy while we're at it. The shoulder on the bolt. 0.527. 0.527. Spec is supposed to be 0.528 plus or minus 5/10,000ths. So this is 527. So it's within spec. TDP specifications. Let's check the tail real quick. It's supposed to be 2.2523 plus or minus 3/10,000ths of an inch. .2495. So it is within spec. So let's check. Now we can use the actual gauge. I'm gonna go start off with the 531 real quick, 0.531, and it will not go in. Let's go 0.530. Get all this crap off there. I didn't clean it from last time. My apologies. But hey, you know what? You're seeing it in real time. I want this to be as legitimate as I can. That way nobody can say, well, you faked it. Here's a 0.530. 0.530 goes in good and tight. And what did I say the bolt was? The main chamber. The shoulder. 0.5275. So it might be a little inefficient up here. Now I'm sounding like Chad. Oh my God. Nothing against Chad. Love Chad. He's a great guy. Does great work. So it's 0.003 smaller, which you're not really going to feel. Yeah, it's got a little wiggle. No big deal. Gas ring run is supposed to be 0.50. So let's do 0.50. This is a 0.50 gauge. And dropping it down in there. And, oh, look at that. What is that? It could be plus or minus 1/1000th of an inch. So 0.50 won't go in. Let's try the 0.499. And look at that. 0.499 eats it right up. So gas ring thing's going to be pretty efficient. So the main shoulder area is a little bit large. If it's going to gas anywhere, it's going to come out the front. Not so much in the back. In the gas ring area. Let's check the tail. Tail is supposed to be 0.2523. I'm going to do a 0.250 and see how that works. I'm dropping it down in here. As you can see it. 0.250 goes in. And it's relatively tight. Let me grab a 0.251. I'm going to make some noise here for a second. I wasn't really planning on going to this in-depth degree, but you know what? I'd rather do it. And then somebody saying, oh, you didn't check this. No, I did check this. So this is a 0.251. Dropping down in the tail section. And, oh, it feeds it. Okay, so 0.251. So it's within spec. Let's try 0.252. .252. .252 does not want to go down in, so it's a .251. And what did I say the tail was? .249. So roughly a thousandths small in the front and in the rear, but the gas ring runs pretty good. So it's going to be a relatively efficient system on the bolt carrier group. I'm checking the gas key right now. This is a .180, and that looks like it's pretty good. It probably will not take a .181. Nope, 181 will not go down in, so that's good. So yeah, it's a relatively efficient boat carrier. The upper receiver, when I went to take it apart, as I was saying, the torque specs for the barrel nut is 30 to 80 foot-pounds. I started out at 45 foot-pounds with my heavy-duty torque wrench to loosen it up, and it was well above that. So I'm going to guess and say it was probably torqued at about maybe 55 foot-pounds, but I got it loose, obviously, and got it all taken apart. Like I said, everything for the money, I can't say that you could do better. I mean, if you're going to spend more money, you're going to pay for a name. You're not paying for the product. You're seeing it right here. Cam pin. What's cam pin diameter? I'm just doing this. 0.309, 308. How does it fit down in here? The swedged part, it won't go in. That's good. And not too bad as far as fit for the cam pin. Cam pin hole is supposed to be 0.312. 0.312. 0.312. Here's a 0.312. And look at that. So it's exactly what it's supposed to be. So spec-wise, it's just a little smaller in certain areas, but for the most part, it's right on par with what the TDP states. So I'm going to say this is very close to the TDP for the upper receiver. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the charging handle. I don't know. Mil-spec states it's supposed to be a 7075 T6 aluminum charging handle. Now this is a standard charging handle. I don't know if it's 7075 T6 or 6061. And it's got a little wear on it. It may have been a little tight when they put it in there. The other thing you want to make sure, you want to make damn sure that these roll pins or split pins aren't sticking up and catching on things. Now, mil-spec upper receiver is supposed to be 1.00 plus 0.002 for the first 1.11 inches plus 0.030. So this pin gauge, as you can see there, is a 0.999, right? So this is a 0.998 extension going into the 0.999. So it's a little bit smaller than spec, which is okay because the barrel's just a little bit smaller than spec. And the back half, where you put your bolt carrier group in, this is a 1 inch. As you can see right here, 1 inch pin gauge, and it goes in with no problem. Remember, all this stuff is TDP. This information I've given you is all TDP. I'm not making any of this shit up. So there's a thousandths difference. Well, Jeff, that's huge. That's a thousandths of an inch. Well, a piece of paper is 0.004 for standard weight paper. So imagine splitting that piece of paper into fourths, and that would be the distance that you would have the gap in here. But a lot of people don't realize is when you're torquing down the barrel nut and mounting the barrel in this upper receiver, this dimension is getting smaller. So it literally is tightening on there. You know, a lot of people talk about bedding barrels. To me, it's a waste of time. I mean, if you want to do it, knock yourself out. I'm not going to do it because unless it's a big gap, I mean, we're talking 3 or 4 thousandths larger than what it needs to be, and then I would shim it for somebody. But yeah, I haven't ran into that specifically on any of the rifles that I built or worked on for anybody. But yeah, this actually shrinks down when you tighten it up, torque specs on it when you're tightening it down. And remember, your barrel nut specification torque is, and it says right here, I'll grab the wrench. They put the TDP specs on here. As you can see right here, barrel nut torque, 30 to 60 or 30 to 80. 30 to 80 foot-pounds. If you're torquing it to 80 foot-pounds on a barrel, yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, you don't want to over-torque your barrel, and you don't want to under-torque your barrel when you're tightening down the barrel nut, which is on the barrel right here. So this spec is good. This back spec is even better. I don't want to say even better, but so, and TDP specification for the holes on the lugs is 0.250, and this is a 0.250 front. A little bit larger in the rear, but the rear lug can be 2 thousandths larger. So I'm going to say it's probably about 2 thousandths larger. And just if anybody's curious, these dimensions here, the width of these lugs that goes into the upper or goes into the lower receiver, you want it to be a relatively tight fit. It should be, per TDP specifications, 0.496 plus 0 and minus 0.003, so 3 thousandths smaller. So zeroing this back out, and I hadn't measured this yet, so I'm measuring this right here in front of you so you can see it. Little bit small. Well, it's within specification. It's 0.494. You can see that dimension right there. Let me come around the camera. 0.494. Right there. And the rear is supposed to be the same. Might be a little bit larger, it looks like. Nope, 0.494. So why is that an issue if it's too small? Well, if it's too small, when these lugs go down into the lower receiver, which it's over there, I'm going to do the other half of the video on that here in a minute. If these are way smaller than what they should be, those dimensions in that lower receiver, as you know, are supposed to be, double check my notes here. I made a cheat sheet, and if anybody wants these, I'll be happy to give them to you. The gap between where the lugs go down in is supposed to be 0.500. It can be oversized by 4 thousandths. The rear end can be oversized by 5 thousandths. So, which isn't really much, but yeah, if that is way smaller than that, then that means the upper receiver is going to move back and forth in the lower receiver. You want a tight fit. Tight fits are good, so we like tight fits. All right, so yeah, I'm pretty impressed with what I'm seeing right here with this Palmetto State Armory, the barrel, the upper receiver, and it is I was trying to find a 4G mark on it. I can't find a 4G mark on it. And that was the other question that I asked the service rep at PSA is, do you guys machine the uppers and lowers in-house? And he said, yes, we do machine the uppers and lowers in-house. So if they're doing this caliber of machining, which basically is TDP specifications, all things being equal, right? Remember that. I'm not gonna answer that. All things being equal for that. So that's for you to decide for yourself. It came with an A2 flash hider, standard A2 flash hider. Threads are really good on it. And it came with the M4 handguards. These are single heat shields, so mil-spec ones are double heat shield, so these are single. I mean, you could put another heat shield in there if you really wanted to, but yeah. Okay, here we go. We're talking about the lower receiver now. This is the Palmetto State Armory. It came as an assembled lower receiver, and talk about the disassembly of it. The buffer tube, or the castle nut for the buffer tube, took a little bit of torque to get it off. It's supposed to be, I'm going to double check. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth because I know somebody will call me names about it. So it's supposed to be 40 foot-pounds. And you know what? It was right at 40 foot-pounds when I took it apart. When I put it back together, it will be 40 foot-pounds. And I am replacing the end plate because they had staked it and I want it to look presentable and good. So I've got quite a few of those, and I just wanted to do that, and I'm gonna move the camera up a little bit. So before I talk about the lower receiver, let me talk about the lower parts kit for it. So when I did the video for the Colt, one of the things I talked about was the fact that they were using Schmid components. Well, funny enough, the lower parts kit that came in the Anderson Manufacturing, I don't know if you can see this right there, right here, this little thing right there, that's a manufacturing mark, and that is an S. That means the lower parts kit is Schmid. Now, I don't know who the springs come from. I'm assuming they have another company that does their own springs, but the trigger components they're Schmid, they're all marked Schmid. The bolt catch is not marked, so I don't know. I can't say for a fact that it is a Schmid. I thought that was a roll mark, but it's not. The takedown pins, I actually think, just between you and I think the takedown pins are black nitride, which is kind of cool. I'm a huge fan of black nitride when it comes to lower parts. The same thing with the buffer detent. That's black nitride. The plunger for the bolt catch, that's also black nitride. So that's really, really, really cool. I'm replacing the screw with an Allen head screw because I don't like flathead screws on pistol grips. Now the mag release arm is phosphate coated, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The button is black nitride. So the things that are moving and sliding are black nitride. The selector, though, is, I'm trying to see who this manufactured by. I can't, it doesn't have any markings on it. I don't want to assume that it's Schmid, but I can't say whether it is or not. But it almost feels like it's black nitride. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Springs, they're standard springs. The detents are the little brass looking ones. I like the K&S black nitride. Actually, if you're going to do a lower parts kit for a gun, I would highly recommend to go into K&S and looking at their stuff because all their componentry is black nitride. And black nitride, I don't know that I'm necessarily a fan of it on bolt carrier groups, but on lower parts like this, yeah. And even the buffer, I don't know what the finish is on that. This is a carbine buffer, carbine weight, and I checked it out. Carbine link spring, it's good spring wise, and it's about 10, almost 10.5 inches long, free, so that's good. So the lower parts kit is cool. The castle nut, oddly enough, I believe it's black nitride as well. So I know black nitride is one of the newer finishes that everybody's going to on everything. The buffer tube is standard finished material, and it's got good threading on it. It threads in pretty well. The one thing I didn't check, and I'll check right now since we're talking about it, is let me grab my Colt buffer tube. And I'm going to thread it into the little receiver. Oh, sorry about that. Try not to make you sick. I'm going to thread it into the lower receiver and see how it locks up. I don't have the gauges to check the threads. I'm not going to spend that kind of money for the gauges. So this is a Colt 4-position. I've had for some time, and I've marked it that way. I would know. And it's threading in nice, and it doesn't have any wobble. So I'm assuming the threads are what they're supposed to be. The buffer tube thread size is 1 3/16 by 16 UN3B, if you really must know. Yeah, and it's threading in there pretty good. One thing I noticed about the upper and the lower when I took them apart is everything had oil on it, and I don't have a problem with that. There's certain areas on the gun that you should be using different type of lubrication. So that is a Colt thread. I'll put this back in here and I'll talk about that in just a second. But like the barrel, when I assembled the barrel, I use Aeroshell 64 on the threads on the barrel nut and on the barrel face and everything else like that, because that's what TDP calls for, and this stuff really, really works very, very well. It's actually designed for it. So yeah, so it's got a standard A2 buttstock, A2 pistol grip, 6-position buffer tube, carbine link buffer spring, carbine link buffer, good lower parts kit. So let's talk about the lower. So the lower receiver, all things being equal, you love that, don't you? The specifications that I have written down on these documents here, there's another one up here that you can't see. I'll put this down here to reference it. We'll reference over here on the side. I checked all the dimensions, and the bores for the takedown and pivot, this is a .250, and they are .250, right? The next one I'm going to check, because it's right up front, is the pivot detent spring bore. It's supposed to be .097, and this is a .097. And I'll turn it around here so you can see it. And it goes right in the front, in the pivot, and back here in the back, in the takedown. So .097, that's what it's supposed to be. Now, the one thing that I did find that I wasn't real happy about is this bore right here. This hole, this is for putting lubrication in on the spring. It's supposed to be .078. This is pretty big, and I think they got sloppy and just used a .097 because it was there. It's really not going to affect the function of any of the components or anything like that, but if they're going to be spec, they need to be spec. Nothing against what they're doing. I just think it should be smaller. The bore for the bolt release is .094 pin gauge, and as you can see, goes right in exactly the way it's supposed to. Let's talk about this little thing right back here. This is the buffer tube detent bore. It's supposed to be .255, and wouldn't you know it, it's .255. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. And I left grease on there from last when I did one of the other videos. .255. So it's to spec. TDP specifications, all things being equal, remember. Well, I gotta find that one later. That one went flying. So the bolt release, detent, and spring bore is supposed to be 156. This is actually, I was really surprised because everything else is almost spot on. It was a 154, which isn't a game changer or anything like that. So let's measure here's the detent. Let's measure that, zero it out. .151. So 3 thousandths smaller than the bore, which is fine. It's literally just a detent for the takedown and the spring. This channel here is 154 as well. I don't think a 155 would fit in it. Here's a one. This is the other thing. The trigger and hammer bores are supposed to be 156. These are 155. And that bore, or that channel there, as you can see, is a 155. So we got 155 trigger, and they're, I don't want to say tight, but they're kind of tight. I think it might be the anodizing in there, because this, I mean, this is literally brand freaking new. So these are good to spec, within spec. The selector bore, 0.375, and it is exactly a 0.375. That's what that gauge is. The bore for the mag release is supposed to be a 0.204, and this is another one that's a little bit small, 0.202. So it's 2 thousandths smaller than what it should be according to TDP. Is that enough of a game changer to say that it's a fail? No, not a fail. The other thing I checked, and where's it at? 0.50. So this gap here and this gap here is supposed to be 0.50. This is a 0.50 pin gauge, and it's a little sloppy. So let me go up the next size, 0.501, and it likes the 0.501. So it's a little bit large here. Remember what I was talking about, the lugs on the upper receiver? It's going to have a little slop in there. I don't like that. But then again, that's not a complete game changer. There's things that you can do. You can shim these and make it tighter. But yeah, it's not anything that you should really worry about. I mean, if you're trying to build a match rifle, you're definitely not going to use something like this as a match rifle basis. But for a self-defense weapon, I wouldn't have issues with it at all. So yeah, it's the lower receiver is pretty much TDP spec'd. The anodizing is great on there. I think he said this is a blend lower receiver, but I don't see any blems on it. I haven't found any yet. Maybe because it's oversized on the spots here and here. I don't know. But yeah, everything else looks really good on it. So this is a usable. It's very, 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 very close to the Colt TDP. I mean, everything else with the exception of the bore, this gap here, that gap there, hell, even the shelf distance is spot on. It's supposed to be 1.249. This is 1.249. And the gap is supposed to be 0.690. It's actually 0.6895. So it's a little bit smaller. So, and the thing you need to be worried about, if you got smaller sizes here, you want to check it against your trigger, the shoulders of the trigger when you put it down in, and make sure it's not rubbing. I mean, that's not an issue at all. And the hammer, same thing for the hammer. I'm gonna make sure it goes down in there smooth with no problem. Maybe a little, not enough to worry about. Not enough to worry about. Yeah, so the takedown pins and pivot pin are black nitride. I can't speak to that enough. I really like that. So that takes care of the lower receiver. So we talked about the upper receiver. We talked about the bolt carrier group, gauged it out, talked about the charging handle, talked about the lower receiver. So yeah, so that's that. All things being equal, I think it's pretty damn close. I would say that it is a pass. And yeah, So that's my opinion on it. You can agree or disagree. That's fine. But yeah, there we go. PSA lower, PSA completely assembled lower, PSA completely assembled upper receiver. And you saw after I took it apart, and actually so you can see it, I put the upper receiver back together. And it's ready to go. Bolt carrier groups in it and everything. So yeah, I'm going to put this bad boy together and give him a call and tell him to come get it. And yeah, so that takes care of this video. I don't even know what I'm going to title it yet. But yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, please hit the comments section or hit me up. My contact information will be on the comments section underneath the video. And yeah, PSA lower, PSA upper, I'm going to say good to go. 2 thumbs up. And I will say, here's my Chad School of American Rifle caveat. This is an example of one. That is an example of one, that upper receiver. So you can't base or judge everything off of this one example. But this example is good to go. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. SRT Armor, Jeffrey Mitchell, Senior TAC, out.